AITA because I took my stepmother's and stepsister's stuff out of my room and left them on the floor? For some context, my dad remarried last year to the woman he had been dating for the past 4 years. She has 3 kids, all girls, and they all moved in like 6 or 8 months before the wedding. The house is big enough for all of us, though 2 of her kids have to share a room. Neither my mom nor their father are in the picture, so we all live here full time. I'm the oldest of the 4. Now, a few months ago my dad begun some remodeling in the house to accommodate them better, so he and the kids had to sleep in other places of the house for a few weeks and their stuff had to be put away. I let them store some of their clothes and their belonging in my closet with the understanding that they had to get their stuff out as soon as the rooms were fixed. I have a pretty big closet, but I don't really own that many clothes, shoes, or accessories to fill it, so beside what's already there and some books, I have a lot of space. Pretty soon I realized I made a mistake because they never knocked or asked to be let in my room to get their stuff and they only barged in whenever they wanted, but I sucked it up because I offered. Also, besides some small modifications to my room, it was pretty left untouched, so I didn't had to sleep around the house like them. Now the issue, the rooms are all fixed and done and they all got back to sleep and have their stuff there. Problem is, my stepmom and one of my stepsisters took this opportunity to buy more stuff and were pretty much left with cramped closets. They still have a bunch of stuff here in my room and they still barge whenever they want and I'm done. I've asked multiple times and my dad has also asked them to take their stuff out, but they always complain they don't have space and I do, so it hurts no one. I had enough when yesterday my stepmom barged in and I was changing. She said it was no big deal, but I felt so embarrassed that when she left my room I just took their shit out and tossed it in the hallway. Both my stepsister and her mom think I'm a selfish and my dad grounded me for what I did but ultimately made them take their stuff. AITA. Comment. Barging into your room is a big deal. Bust in on your dad and her in bed a few times, and you'll see how big a deal she really thinks it is. This is a power play and a territorial dispute. She's letting you know that this is her house and her room, not yours, and she can go wherever she wants whenever she wants, because she is the lady of the house now, and you aren't. It sucks. By grounding you, your dad is reinforcing her shitty behavior, not you. Get a lock for your door. Are her clothes at least out of your room for good, now? If I was the op, I'd take dad aside and tell him that you have been more than hospitable, generous, even, to his new wife and her kids, and her response was to start a war over your bedroom. Let him know that this is absolutely not on. She is not your mother, and she is never going to be your mother, and you will accept parental authority only from him. She's just another adult who lives in the house. The compromise you offer is that you will be civil, all foreign material leaves your room, and that you get a lock for the door. The alternative he faces is a household at war and, eventually, an estranged daughter. No one will enjoy that, but that's what's going to happen if he insists on it. If it comes to a negotiation, you can give way on the parental authority part, but hold the line on everything else. Honestly, I'd make sure there was a caveat about the instant she becomes unreasonable, she's proven that, it'll be the end of any parental authority. She's shown she doesn't respect op to the point that she thinks it's no big deal barging in while she's changing. Something that most people desire privacy for, and the law specifically states one is supposed to have privacy for. So given any authority, I'd put good money on Lady Tremaine here demanding, oh, you left one dish in the sink, you're grounded for a month. You could install a chain lock yourself, if you felt like being rebellious. Not sure how old you are or if you would be able to access a hardware store to purchase one. But at the very least you'd be able to have privacy while you're in your room. Sucks that your dad is such a pushover with your stepmom. It's not okay. He should be doing better by you. Get a door jamb. Use it when you're in your room so they have to knock in the future. They can figure out their own storage needs using their own space and brain power. Your dad should not have grounded you unless you literally just threw it all out, leaving a mess or in a way that damaged things. If it were me, I'd have loaded it into separate trash bags and bucked them into their respective rooms. Did your dad also ground your stepsister for not getting her stuff out as he asked multiple times? Or is it only your stepmom that gets to make decisions for both her kids and stepkid? Sweetie, I don't know how old you are, but you need to have a talk with your dad about how all of the barging in has affected and how it has built up. If this is going to be a cohesive family, your dad needs to help his wife see how she and her daughter weren't respecting your boundaries. Can you lock your door at all? Next story 2. AITA for telling my son's pregnant girlfriend to get a job once she has the baby or move out. My son, Stephen has been getting into trouble with the police for numerous small-time offenses like stealing and fighting, which resulted in him getting sent to juvenile for a few months. When he came out, he had to check in with probation regularly. At the probation office, he met a girl, Lizzie. And they hit it off. She'd just come out after a year inside. Her family are very well off, but they kicked her out, so she was living in a hostel. She was only there temporarily and had nowhere to go after that, so with my permission Stephen offered her to come and stay with us. When Lizzie first moved in, it was tough for her. She's used to quite a comfortable lifestyle and was hoping to return to one when she came out, but she settled in quickly. I gave Stephen one more chance after he came home, and fair to him, he's managed to get a job laboring on a building site. Lizzie, however, has refused to get a job. Before she got arrested, she was studying for a degree, and sees jobs like cleaning or admin work as beneath her. She's trying to find an entry-level job in the field she was studying, but has had no success. This is a bit of a problem, as even with me and Stephen working, we only just make enough to cover the rent, food, and bills. More than once we've had to go days without hot water. Lizzie became pregnant a few months back and decided to keep the baby, which Stephen is fully supporting. I'm happy for them, but this will give us another mouth to feed. I said that as soon as the baby is born, if both mother and baby are healthy, of course, I expect Lizzie to take any job available. I work as a cleaner in evenings and nights, so am around in the daytime to take care of the baby while Stephen and Lizzie work. I told them that if Lizzie refuses, they can look for a place of their own. This made Lizzie cry, and say she doesn't want to do a soul-destroying job because she used to have a bright future ahead of her. I understand this and it's unfortunate, but I've worked shitty jobs all my life, and this building site job is the first Stephen ever had. Living where we do, shitty jobs are a part of life, and we won't be able to provide her baby with a comfortable home if she doesn't get one. AITA. Comment. NTA, but why are you happy for them having a baby? Seriously, they are financially insecure, they both have records, their job prospects right now are completely dim, and you're happy for them. Doesn't anyone under 25 on AITA know about contraception? But on the question of whether Lizzie needs to contribute your NTA, her best bet is to show up pregnant at her wealthy parents and beg for support. Seriously, this is her best option, which is why being happy for them is completely mental. She just wants to whine about the potential she herself destroyed. She was on track for a degree. She isn't now and needs to survive and earn money to support herself and her child. She's not OP's responsibility. She can later pick up on getting her degree. Her life isn't over. It's just changed course. She needs to get over her snobbery about jobs because she doesn't have enough education to work in her field. Heck, even an administrative job in a company in her field would give her lots of exposure and education. She needs to understand that she's an adult with a child to support. If something happened to UP or her son, what would she do? She needs to start thinking ahead and growing up so she can be a proper parent. NTA. Funny how she's too self-important to clean toilets, but not too much that she wouldn't get herself involved in criminal activities. On that same note, no one gets a 1-year stint for underage drinking or small-time drug offenses. This tells me she was probably doing some kind of property crime like simple theft, burglaries, or drug dealing. In which case, how disconnected from reality do you have to be to do small felonies worthy of jail time but still expect the world to treat you like some innocent college girl? If people have that attitude against ex-cons, I'm not surprised at our recidivism rate. If they live near one of the all too few re-entry type programs there are, they should be encouraged to try to use the resources available. Basically telling them you got no prospects and your life is pretty much over is not helpful at all. I know plenty of felons who got decent jobs as machinists and other blue-collar jobs who make a decent living, $40K to $60K, which is good for the area I live in. The ones who do the best have an encouraging support system. Just saying. This. I would tell her to get a job now. She only has a few months to save up for baby expenses. If she's not willing to work while pregnant, it's going to be nearly impossible to get her to work with a kid. I don't know where you live, but where I am, you can walk into almost any fast food place and get a job. If you guys can barely afford hot water, how are you going to afford diapers and formula? Tell her to get a job now. Give her 2 weeks, or she's out. Maybe a few nights at a homeless shelter will get her to reconsider taking whatever job she can get, because it seems her pride is still more valuable than food on the table. Have a serious talk with your son. They need to be saving now for the baby. Honestly, I'm more focused on why no one has given the wake-up call that she had a bright future and turned the lights down on it by committing a crime. Plus, and this is just a guess here, I expect an entry-level job in the field she was studying requires a degree and most likely a background check. We know she wouldn't pass the background check, and it doesn't sound like she has the degree, so she wouldn't even be eligible likely. It feels like she's being coddled even before getting pregnant. She needs a tough talk on the long-term consequences of her actions and shifting her perspective to the current reality of her life, rather than the one she expected to have. My partner's father allowed me to move in with them despite never meeting and being some random kid his son picked up off the street. My mother had just died, my father kicked me out a day after, and while I wasn't the worst kid out there, I was getting worse every day due to that death and several other traumatizing events. While I was never arrested, I don't know where I'd be without the kindness of my Phil and my boyfriend, despite how little I did and how emotional I was those first few months. I say the best thing to do is push them out of the nest, be firm but don't be too harsh. Overall, she is probably just scared. Abortions aren't an easy alternative either, and who knows what environment she grew up in. It is definitely time for her to go though, so I still believe op is NTA.